Francisco Pizarro, hailed as the discoverer and conqueror of the Inca Empire. While the second title can be contested, he was not the first European to come into contact with the Inca. The explorer to whom this claim rightfully belongs is Aleixo Garcia, wrongly attributed as being under the service of Portuguese Brazil. He was part of the Juan Diaz de Solis expedition that left in 1515 and explored the Rio de la Plata area. When de Solis was killed in Uruguay after a fight with the natives, the expedition headed back to Spain, with one ship getting wrecked off Uruminrin Island, now called Santa Catarina in modern-day Brazil. There were 18 survivors, including Garcia. All save for one were Portuguese sailing under the crown of Spain. The castaways coexisted with the Guarani, where they learned the language. It would also be where they would hear stories about a rich empire ruled by a white king, who wore clothes like the Europeans. In his kingdom lay a mountain range made of silver. They gave him an approximation of where he'd have to go. Garcia, emboldened by his quest to search for these rich lands, left the island in 1524 with a few of the castaways, some deciding to stay to not lose contact with the coast. They traveled through modern state of Santa Catarina, crossed the Parana, and went across modern Paraguay, near where the modern-day city of Asunción would be founded. It was there where they were well received by the local Guarani, who were eager to join the expedition. Garcia knew that to confront the White King, numbers would be essential. After their dealings, they went up the Paraguay, considerably up the junction with the Pilcomayo, probably at a place called Corumba. They went westward and entered the Chaco. Now modern Bolivia, Garcia allied himself to the Caraques and the Tarapacosis, both peoples bitter enemies of the White King. They now crossed the frontier into his kingdom. They had now entered into the Inca Empire. The Sapa Inca at the time, Huayna Capac, the Old, was campaigning somewhere else. Garcia and his army destroyed and plundered towns called Presto and Tarabuco, now in the modern Bolivian department of Chuquisaca. To the Inca, this was the province of Charcas. For Inca accounts, this was just another raid by the peoples that lay to their east, ever hungry to raid Inca lands. According to them, this time, the Chiriguanos, what the Inca called the Guarani, were able to capture a fort called Cuscotuyo. Huayna Capac had to send a contingent of 20,000 men led by his general Yasca, who captured many Guaranis and sent them to Quito. There is no mention of any Europeans by them, yet this can be explained by them wearing native garb and blending in with the native allies, yet they probably still had beards. They also didn't have anything of note like their firearms, which would have been mentioned by the Inca. Back to the Spanish account of the expedition, Garcia saw how outnumbered he was and thus ordered a strategic retreat from the kingdom, saying that he was able to leave in an orderly manner and save the lives of many men. According to the Inca, this attack caused more fortifications to be built in Charcas, many of which were still seen decades later according to the accounts of the Spanish explorers. The expedition returned to Paraguay, where a camp was established 50 leagues of modern-day Asunción. It was a success. The plunder consisted of much cloth and silver ornaments and crowns. Garcia sent 12 natives with the equivalent of 75 pounds of silver to the castaways that had been left behind. He also sent letters that urged them to join him as they were planning another expedition to conquer the kingdom. Yet this never came to be. Garcia and some Portuguese native allies were killed. It is not known who their assailants were, but the motives were to steal all the treasure that had been acquired from him. It is believed this occurred in 1525 as Sebastian Cabot arrived, hearing the stories of wealth from the Rio de la Plata, as well as interviewing 2 survivors from Garcia's expedition to get a more accurate account. As for the treasure that had been sent back, it lay there for some time until it was loaded into a ship headed for Spain that was sunk en route. Garcia's legacy was massive. Based on his expedition, men such as the renowned Cabeza de Vaca would follow in his footsteps, led by the same native guides who had accompanied Garcia. Expeditions were also sent inspired by his. One story relating that 2 Europeans who had lived among the natives for a long time promised to bring back 400 slaves carrying silver from the White King's land. They got their force and later disappeared. It was later found they had been massacred. Pizarro's killing of the White King Atahualpa did not bring an end to the legends. The mountain range made of silver was still up for grabs, and there was a race by Spain and Portugal to reach it first. While he is heavily overshadowed by other contemporary conquistadors, it is important to recognize his expedition and raid into the Inca Empire and the changes it would bring to the continent with how many Europeans would seek to emulate his success.